Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Dara Bergeron from Belly Bootcamp, and I'm here again today with Jessie Mundell. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for talking to me again. If people want to find you, Jessie, where's the best place for them to find you after this talk? Where should we send people to find you on the web?
JessieMundell.com is the best place, and everything is kind of hosted there and can redirect you into different avenues.
Awesome. And you're at Jessie Mundell on all the social media stuff too, right?
Yeah, okay. Facebook and Instagram is kind of where I hang out the most.
I know. I can't believe there was no Instagram like 5 years ago. Well, maybe there was, but I wasn't on it.
No, it's my favorite place to be on social media now.
So today, Jessie is going to talk to us a little bit about postpartum fitness from an angle of kind of realities and myths in postpartum fitness. You've been a trainer for how long, Jessie?
10 years.
And you've been working with moms for that long as well, right? You've been specializing in mom fitness for that long, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. My first personal training job was at a studio for prenatal and postnatal fitness.
Oh, that was your first job? No way. Okay. When you were a pre-mom, how did you imagine postpartum fitness?
Yeah, it was exactly what my first job was like. I thought everyone's goal was to lose weight.
Yes.
Everyone's goal was to be there because they didn't like their bodies anymore, or they felt too weak, or they were always in pain. And mostly they just hated their bodies and wanted to make their belly smaller. So when I was programming and coaching classes, for me, I was thinking it has to be as hard as possible. They have to get sweaty, and they need to be sore for days afterwards to think that this was of value to them.
Yeah.
What is unfortunate is that I think that we are still seeing this in postnatal fitness, aside from all the incredible coaching that you all do and some other incredible people in our industry are doing. This is what it is generally marketed like. We see these ads on social media and Facebook, and it is to get moms into program to drop a dress size, to get their abs back, to fit into their clothes postpartum. So it's just unfortunate that is still the reality of what we're seeing a lot of the time.
It's cringeworthy, to look back on the marketing that I did 10 years ago, and you know what I mean when you think about where you were. And also, I think just the lack of knowledge that was in the industry around postpartum healing. I wasn't building my programming around postpartum healing. I was making it work okay if I had to for someone who couldn't follow the regular programming, which is a very different approach, I think, from where most of us are going these days. Did you always know you were going to be a mom?
So that's an interesting journey too, because I had a lot of fear when I was in my early 20s about getting pregnant and postpartum, because I had a lot of fear wrapped up in my body and my body changing and it becoming bigger. And so I had a lot of fat phobia, a lot of body image stuff I was working with. So for years I was like, nope, never getting pregnant, never having kids because it will ruin my body.
Oh no, that's
I know.
It's not really funny because I probably are a billion female teenagers and early 20-something women walking around thinking the same thing still. So Then you got knocked up and you had to face the music. So how did you imagine? What did you think postpartum Jessie was going to do and look like and be?
Yeah, so luckily for a few years before I got pregnant, I was deep into this mindset journey of finding worth and value in my body, and really understanding my own relationship with food and exercise. So luckily when I went into pregnancy, I was in a really good space and feeling totally comfortable in my skin. And that is how it continued to go postpartum too. Luckily, because my postpartum period would have been a disaster if it had happened 5 years earlier. And I would have caused so many issues for myself, physically and mentally, if I wasn't in a good place going into postpartum.
Totally. So then once you had Steele, you started the reality of working out at home with a newborn. And what did that actually look like for you? Even for someone like you who knows exactly what to do, what was the reality of that as a new mom?
Yeah, so it was an interesting time for me because I assumed that I would be recovering from a vaginal birth, but then end up recovering from a C-section. So things changed a little bit for me, and I developed a program to help myself and then to be able to coach my moms recovering from C-sections as well. So very gentle, restorative type movement starting at 2 weeks postpartum. things like connecting my breathing to movement, glute bridges, clamshells, glute focused exercises, some upper body stuff, basically to just help me feel a little bit less creaky, get out of newborn life a little bit and into my body. So not only helping physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. So that program took me 8 weeks, but at 4 weeks postpartum, I actually started back to workouts that looked a little bit more like strength training. Very much rehab based still, very gentle, but started to get back into things like resistance band chest presses and squat to box and some split squats. So just things that felt like I was physically challenging myself a little bit more, but still very appropriate. Was not sore from them. Maybe some glute soreness, but nothing, no pain or discomfort ramping up in my body.
Yeah, okay, cool. I always thought I would be really great at making time for mobility work, and I write mobility work into my clients' programs and their workouts. I talk about it all the time in classes. We warm up with mobility work, but in reality, there is a ton of mobility work that should and can be done, I guess, in postpartum to deal with, I'm thinking of things like baby wearing, especially, you know, like one-sided slings and constantly sleeping on one arm because that's the good boob or whatever it is, right? So did you do any of that in reality? Like when it came down to like this 8 minutes a day you had, did you have time for mobility? Did you make a priority?
So it was included a little bit in that 8-week period. Yeah. And since then, I've probably done no mobility work whatsoever.
You're like the queen of no warm-ups, right? Like this is, I love this, like, ain't nobody got time for warm-ups. Nobody has time for warm-ups.
No, if I was coming to your class, you'd probably make me warm up, but otherwise, no, I consider my life.
Very deliberately warm up, just because, and you can tell people roll their eyes. It's like, okay, you know. Okay, wait, I'm going to backtrack. When we're talking about postpartum, we're not just talking about 6 weeks until the doctor says you can do whatever you want or whatever. And we're not even talking like 4th trimester. We're not just talking about those early stages, right? How do you kind of put a boundary on, you put a boundary on postpartum?
I know, it's so awkward to talk about now.
When I think of postpartum, I think of it being 1 to 2 years. That's kind of, in my head, that's like where I think of it. But that doesn't mean that everyone falls into that range.
Yes. Yeah, so same. I talk about early postpartum being that first year, and I felt still early postpartum that first year. And looking back on it now, I just feel so different in my body than even 1 year postpartum, at 2 years postpartum. Sure. So I'm interested to see how it changes, even in another year, if I will feel like, am I feeling the effects of it at all, or do I feel more back to my pre-pregnancy function? I don't know. We'll just see what happens. Something that I talk with my clients about often is allowing ourselves to be postpartum. And I think if we don't allow ourselves to be postpartum, then we can really miss out on so much of the joy. And I felt so lucky to be able to actually be enjoying Seal when she was so small, and now too, because I wasn't distracted by my body. Yeah. That's huge.
How old is your daughter now, Jessie?
She's just over 2.
She's just over 2. Are you having more kids?
I don't know.
I just had to throw that in there because I know you don't think you're gonna have, or you don't have an answer. I'm just busting your balls because once in a while on social media I like to ask Jessie if she's gonna have more kids, but she has no answer. So still no answer?
You know what? I have no desire to be pregnant at all right now still. I thought I would by this point, but no, not even a little.
I like when I ask people if they're going to have more kids and their answer is like, no. Just because I enjoy the certainty of that. Like, that, nope, I'm done. That's it. That part of my life is over. Because I feel like so many of us walk around in this like gray area of like, I could have one more kid. You know what I mean? I think sometimes it's about like the mental energy that goes into, especially the focus on fat loss in postpartum, which is a mistake professionally and personally that I've made with my previous, in the previous parts of my career, and also with my first 2 kids. And I think back, like, you know, how much mental energy went into diet and, you know, counting calories or being low carb or starting to run or whatever it was. And now you realize how quickly this part of your life is gone. And, like, what a misallocation of resources that is. Not to mention the fact that it's completely going against everything your body's trying to do in postpartum, right? So what do you think are the realities of postpartum that make fat loss difficult? And why do you think that we should shift the focus off of fat loss? Because I know that's something that you support wholeheartedly.
Yes, yeah. So I don't talk about fat loss at all in my coaching. It's just not something that I find fun to talk about, so I just don't.
Yeah.
And it can be that simple if you want it to be. That being said, I don't think fat loss is a terrible goal for everyone, or it's going to create issues for everyone. Just for me, still, if I was to coach it, I feel like I would get triggered.
Right.
That is the honest truth. I come from a long background of disordered eating, anorexia when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. So I just want to avoid it as much as possible. So I think that what can be so difficult, though, for moms who are striving for fat loss is thinking about this in terms of needing to do all the things, needing to work out a ton, needing to restrict calories, and then we throw on lack of sleep, hormonal fluctuations, and additional stress, and your body is just going to fight against you. So I really love the approach of habits, approaching nutrition from a place of habits, nutrition from a place of understanding how this actually makes me feel in my body, and then exercise from a place of like pure function. Can I live my life? Can I parent optimally? Am I doing the fun exercise that I want to be able to do? Do I like moving my body in this way? So we take the focus off fat loss and focus more so on the life things.
For sure. But it's tricky to talk about nutrition in postpartum, I think, without touching on fat loss. And one of the things that I find interesting about the whole nutrition side of things is that if you can, for those who have no rabbit hole of eating disorders and who don't go into crazy calorie counting, macro counting, where it doesn't take over your psyche, it can be powerful to understand that habit-based nutrition can take the pressure off of your exercise routine. So that if you are trying to, say, gradually, safely lose weight in like talking later stages of postpartum, a good general eating plan, in terms of like family dinners and homemade food when you can, and not eating until you explode, but also not depriving yourself, that can fuel fat loss way better than going to spinning 5 days a week, right?
Totally, yes. And so much better for hormonal health, which can absolutely factor into body fat percentage.
You can get way better fat loss results from just trying to sleep and eat well with homemade foods than you ever are going to going to, I'm going to say the word Bootcamp, even though present company accepted, but then going to Bootcamp like 5 days a week. That's just going to beat you into the ground and probably ruin your hormones even further and cause you long-term issues. That's an important distinction, I think. Finding a body fat level that's healthy, sustainable, and like feels good on you tends to be a symptom to me of like happiness and wellness. I don't think you can get it the other way around. I don't think you can like lose fat and it makes you happy and healthy. I think it's got to come like as a byproduct. Hopefully everyone can hear you over the Moana song in the background. Listen, I know they tell you should breastfeed because it's going to burn calories, but the system doesn't work that way. You got to put in what you need to make that milk and keep your energy levels up and your hormones regulated. So the point is not to use it to make a deficit. It's to understand that it may cause additional hunger. Just like maybe try to sleep.
Just live your life. I think if we can focus on thriving in our lives as moms, that's going to be the most powerful thing we can do.
Agreed. I just felt like a sow for like the first, I don't even know how anyone has time to focus on fat loss. It's like, I just laid there and was like shirt off all the time. Like how? It's not bodybuilding prep material.
Oh my gosh. We just weaned. Are you still breastfeeding?
Yes.
Whatever is working.
Yeah.
Just after 2 with Steele, I was like, done. I have to stop doing this. But what's so interesting is that I feel like I have this surge of energy and I'm actually a little bit more interested in exercise since.
The female body is like such an enigma and we still have such limited research into this time of life. And anecdotally, I can say the same thing after all my babies. Well, this one remains to be seen, but that after weaning, I felt like a regular human again, and also lost, without any focus, stress, attempt, like an extra 5 pounds of fat that had just been hanging around that I maybe hadn't even noticed was still there. So I think it's like really important to understand that it's just about a whole lot more than what you eat and what you know, how much activity you get in a day. Your body is doing like magical things and they're not always in your control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have any favorite postpartum like fitness accounts that you like to follow on social media?
I love yours truly, and I have for years now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing people who are doing in-person coaching well. It takes a lot for me to trust someone, and I've had clients who are in your area and other people reach out, and I always recommend your classes because I know.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Brianna Battles.
Yeah, she's great.
Mm-hmm. Haley Chevener, the best.
Awesome.
Suzanne Coe is doing great work in Chicago.
Great. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just recommend hashtags to people because you'll find certain people using the right hashtags, and then if you happen to connect with a certain professional, you like their, you know what I mean, their style or whatever, that can be a very personal thing.
Yeah, that's so smart, actually. I've never recommended that.
Remember them when you want to name them, either Instagram won't pull them up or you can't remember what their Instagram handles are.
Yes, that's so smart. So a lot of the coaches that have taken my course for trainers will use Postnatal Specialists.
Oh, awesome.
And then trainers that have taken Bree's course, I think it is Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism.
Yeah.
Double check on that one, but that's going to be so great for people looking for in-person coaches too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you recommend though? I love this idea.
Some of the really common ones, like just hashtag diastasis or hashtag diastasis recti. The problem with those, I think, is you're going to pull up some people who are still maybe not super up to snuff on the research. But piston breathing is good. I think if you actually just look for your own symptoms for your own disorder, so if you're looking for information on prolapse, I think just looking up hashtag prolapse, you're not going to find people writing about prolapse who are not either coming from a position of experience or some kind of expertise. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to just use this awkward pause to put in a thing where we list some hashtags and then people can go on social media. You have a directory, don't you, on your site or somewhere where we can access people who you've certified? So for those who are not in an area where they necessarily know of a postnatal specialist, where is that on your site? We can link to that?
Yes, yeah. Prepostnatalfitness.com/featured.
Perfect. My daughter is just riding around her horse in the background. I'm just going to let it go because this is the reality of working from home. There's Cheerios under my feet, and this is my fancy bun.
My program, To Pregnancy and Beyond, is how I actually work with moms who are pregnant or postpartum now, and that is strength training programming, and that includes my Core Plus Floor Restore program, which is also available as a one-time, and that is more early postpartum stages when you are understanding how to use good strategies in your alignment, your breathing, and then lifting under load, and just managing pelvic floor dysfunction, healing diastasis recti, treating pelvic prolapse, and then I work with trainers and coaches with the Postnatal Fitness Specialist Academy, and that is an online certification for trainers who are just hoping to do their best work with moms to help them feel confident and capable in their bodies.
Well, it's been so nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Hopefully everyone could hear you over my daughter.
I love it. That's my life too. Good to talk with you.
You too. Bye, Jessie.